Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Tehillim Treasures, where we will plumb the beautiful depths and treasures of Tehillim from the very beginning of Tehillim to the end of David HaMelech's masterpiece. This episode is brought to you by Chazaq. Chazaq is an organization that helps public school children become Shomrei Torah mitzvahs, exposes them to the beauty of Torah and mitzvahs. Imagine for a moment you're standing in a store or you're walking down the street. You know the neighbor. You've known them for many years. You see their children riding their bike in the driveway. And you know they're Jewish. But now there's someone who can help them take the next step. And that is Chazaq, with countless programs after school and other wonderful programs to help expose them to the beauty of Yiddishkeit. If you know someone or know someone that knows someone that can help these children, then please email at psty@chazaq.org. This episode is also brought to you by Chickens for Shabbos. Chickens for Shabbos is exactly what it says it is, plus more. There are many people. There are Melamdim's children. There are Agunis. There are Grushis. There are families that do not have simple essentials for Shabbos and for life. Whatever they need, Chickens for Shabbos is there to provide. Please do your utmost to help in any way you can. We now begin the next two kapitluch in Tehillim, Kapitel Ayin Tes and Kapitel Pei, chapter 79 and 80, as we make our way through David HaMelech's timeless treasures. Mizmor la'osaf Elokim bo goyim benach losecha. Now this is a very famous kapitel. This is a kapitel that is often recited when the Jewish people go into battle. In this kapitel we have Shvor chamoscha el hagoyim asher lo yidocha ve'al mamlechois asher b'shimcha lo yikarau. We say that on Seder night, when we ask Hashem to pour out His anger on the nations of the world that do not know Him, and on the kingdoms that are not called in His name. Osaf is teaching us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to pour out His anger against the nations of the world. So when we're in battle, we cry out these words. But Mizmar la'osaf seems to be a very, very strange title for this kapitel. Why? Because Mizmar la'osaf means a song for Asaf. And a song for Asaf, we're talking about, we're under siege, we're going into battle. There's many references to all of the terrible, terrible persecution the Jewish people went through. Why is there a mizmar here? Kina la'asaf mi ba'ilei. It should have been a lamentation. It should have been a cry, a mizmar, a song. And the answer is, and this is elaborated upon by Rabbi Yechiel Spero, he says that the greatest moment of connection and love that the Jewish people have is the moment that the Jewish people lost the Beis HaMikdash. Now, how could that be? Hashem destroyed the most precious treasure we have, the Beis HaMikdash, and that's the moment of love? Doesn't seem to make sense. And the answer is Hashem had a choice. The Jewish people had sinned to the point where Hashem said, you know what? I cannot be with you any longer. And He had to choose. Do I choose the Beis HaMikdash or do I choose the Jewish nation? Hashem Chas v'Shalom could have chosen the Beis HaMikdash. And if He did, He could have destroyed Chas v'Shalom, Klal Yisrael. But Hashem decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to destroy my own home. And I won't be able to be with you. But I choose you. I choose you because I love you more than anything else in the world. Yes, Mizmar la'asaf. At the moment that we're attacked, at the moment that we lose the Beis HaMikdash, the Pasuk says, Timu es eichal kodshecha. They contaminated the Heichal. You know why? Because Hashem loved us and loves us and chooses us more than any other item, more than any other being in the world. He chooses the Jewish people. There's a story that's told about a prominent misnagid, somebody who was not a chassid by any sense of the imagination. And this misnagid's daughter became ill. And the fellow davened, and he turned to others to daven, but her condition deteriorated. It got worse and worse. And finally, some of his friends, people who were also misnagdim, perhaps a little cynical about Chasidus, said, you know, they say this tzaddik, the chart giver Rebbe, he's the one that brings about great Yeshuas. And at first he dismissed it, but, you know, you start to believe in the kayach of a Rebbe if you have nowhere else to turn. And so, at first he refused to go, but after a while, as his daughter's condition deteriorated, he decided to go to the Rebbe for a bracha. The Rebbe welcomed him, but he knew this fellow is a serious misnagid. He's not somebody who loves Chassidim, and he's a skeptic. So the Rebbe said to him, I just want to share with you a short thought. Every day in davening, in the brachas right before Kriya Shema, we say that the Eibishter, we say that Hashem is matzmiach Yeshuas. Hashem causes the Yeshua to sprout. It does not say hitzmiach. It doesn't say that he caused the Yeshuas to come. He already brought about the salvations in the past. Rather, matzmiach, in the present, he causes Yeshuas to sprout. It's constant. And the cynic, the misnagid, thanked the Rebbe for his kind and inspiring words. Indeed, he gave him a bracha. He went back with newfound hope. And Baruch Hashem, his daughter, recovered with a full refuah shalema. Mizmar la'asaf. Even though it seems like Hashem has abandoned us, we have to know that at every moment, Hashem loves us more and more. And Hashem believes in us. And Hashem knows that although we've sinned, we have it within us to help Hoyalois to do whatever we need to do to cause Hashem to be Machzir Shechinaseh L'Tzion, to bring about the Shechina to Tzion once again. We now move on to Kapitel Pei. And Kapitel Pei is Lanatzeach al Sheishanim Eidus La'osaf Mizmar. And we mentioned a few kapitels ago that we reached the halfway point of Tehillim in Prakim. But here in the 80th parak, we reach the halfway point of Sefer Tehillim in letters. And it's interesting to note that the pasuk in which we find the central letter, which is in pasuk Yodalid, it says, Yechar semena chazir miyar v'ziz sodai yirena. The boar of the forest ravages it, and the crawler of the field feeds on it. Who is this chazir? Because a chazir, as far as I remember, is a pig. I said a boar because boar is like a fancy way of saying it, but it's a pig. And in this pasuk we should find the midpoint way of Tehillim, the central focus, the briach hatikoin, the central cord and thread of Tehillim. And the Medrash says that the chazir refers to Esav. He flashes his split hooves, and unfortunately, he doesn't chew his cud. So he has what's called chazer fisalach, pig feet. He pretends to be one when he's really not. He thinks he's kosher. He wants to convince us that he's kosher, like other animals that have split hooves, but he's not. Our enemies steal and plunder, and they make it look like not only are they innocent, but they're praiseworthy. But the question is, how does Esav sustain, and how do the lies and the thievery and the thuggery of Esav survive? We've been in Golus for over 1950 years. Sheker ein le raglayim. Fallacy and falseness, it has no feet to stand on. So how can the chazir of Esav stand in this sheker, in this fallacy? And the answer is a lesson that is highlighted by the middle letter of this pasuk. It's the ayin. And the ayin is the center of Sefer Tehillim. Esav sheds 3 tears. He sheds 3 tears when he receives, unfortunately, a secondary bracha from Yitzchak and doesn't receive the main bracha. First tear came from his right eye. And the right eye, he receives the tear falls, and he sheds a tear, a worthy tear. He troubled himself to do kibbut avayim, wasn't able to fulfill it and carry through on the mitzvah. The second was from his left eye because he lost the materialistic benefits that Yaakov got. But the third tear was never shed. And this one is a totally selfish one. He was angry that it was Yaakov who ended up with the brachas and that he did not get them. So again, the first one was he could not fulfill the mitzvah. The second one was that he could not get the gashmis. The third was he was partial angry. He was furious with Yaakov. You know what's the centerpiece of all of Sefer Tehillim? It is the letter ayin. The ayin is the eye, and the eye represents the tears of Esav. The genuine tears, there's nothing that bothered Esav more. And when somebody cries with genuine tears, HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens. And Esav has lasted 1,950 years to persecute the Jewish people. You know why? Because he cried for it. And Rosh Hashanah, we remember the mother of Sisera. She cried out. Sisera was a Rasha Marusha, who was a horrible person. And we remember the tears of Sisera's mother. What? Sisera. Imagine we remember Hitler's tears. Ugh. But a genuine tear, a sincere tear, even if it comes from a Rishanta, even if it comes from a Rasha, it has sustainability, it has power. This is how Sefer Tehillim is able to carry the Jewish people for so long, because it's accompanied by the tears. And we have to remember that a genuine teardrop is something that's cherished by Hashem. There is a Sefer, Minhagei Varmaiza, the customs of worms, that tells over a story. 250 years ago, says the Sefer Minhagei Varmaiza, there was a rash of pogroms against the Jewish people in France. And there was one village that was spared. What was the village? There was a simple fellow. He was not a Talmud Chacham. He could not learn Gemara. He couldn't learn Chumash. One day, he passed away after a long life. Within 30 days, he appeared in a dream to one of the great Chachamim of Airport. Sounds like airport. I think that's where the name comes from. It was a city nearby. He was dressed in burial shrouds. He was holding a book in his hand. And the Chacham asked the man, "Didn't we just bury you a few weeks ago? Why are you appearing here in a dream?" And the old man said he was given permission to come, and he was given permission to warn the people they should run away and save themselves. There was a gzeira against the village that was decreed in Shamayim, and the village no longer had the protection it once had. And he took out his Sefer Tehillim, and he was holding it in his hand. As long as I was alive, I completed Sefer Tehillim every week. with heartfelt sincerity. This protected our village. But now, I'm no longer alive, and they no longer have the protection. The Talmud Chacham woke up, and he sent a messenger to the village, and he told them time was limited. Those who took his word seriously escaped and saved the lives of their families. Some people ignored the warning, and Rahman al-Islan met a bitter end. That's the power of a heartfelt tear. That's the secret of Esav. That is the centerpiece of Sefer Tehillim. Until next time, sei gesund.